Hello, ghosties. You're listening to Not My Ghost.
Not My Problem. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jen.
Whether you're a skeptic, a true believer, or somewhere in between, join us for a journey into the unknown.
Because remember, when it comes to the paranormal, it may not be our problem.
But it's certainly someone's problem.
Third time's a charm, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I don't know. We've been haunted a lot lately.
We have. Fingers, toes, everything crossed.
Everything's crossed. So for those who have no idea what we're talking about, I think we mentioned it in an episode in the past where we had a topic picked out that I did all the research for, and we recorded it twice early on. Like, I think it was supposed to be our 6th or 7th episode.
Yeah.
And both times we recorded this episode, we had sound issues. Now, there were other episodes in between these two recordings because I was lazy at editing, and no issues on those. But both times we tried to record this episode, we had sound issues.
It's kind of weird.
It is. But we're going to try again.
If it doesn't work this time, you guys just are not ever going to hear it.
No.
So I don't even know why I'm saying this. Jen, if it doesn't work this time, they're never going to hear it.
No. We'll tell them in another episode that we tried this for the third time, and we'll give them the actual topic, and we couldn't do it. But
Okay.
I've spent all the time researching, so it better work.
Right. And I still don't have a tooth. So it's best for Jen to read most of the stuff for the episodes right now, because I'm getting kind of irritated that the retainer thing that I need is not in yet.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's been a really long time that I haven't had a tooth. And I'm tired of sounding like Elmer Fudd. So, but again, I do it for the listeners.
Yes. I was thinking the other day when I was editing, when I heard you say that Elmer Fudd, I was like, there might be some people that are listening that don't even know who that is.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that.
I know.
If you don't know who Elmer Fudd is, go Google it, look up YouTube videos of Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd.
Yeah. I mean, I barely know who he is, but I do.
Yeah, my references are getting really fucking old.
They are. I mean, I definitely watched it when I was a kid, but it was old when I was a kid.
Some of it was old when I was a kid.
I thought I was watching retro cartoons, turning on Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, a lot of it was old when I was a kid. So yeah. For you, it was really fucking old.
We are in our scripted, unscripted banter.
We certainly are.
Yes, we are. And I do have a question for you, and I am just going to preface this question with, I don't know if I asked this on another episode that actually got published, because it's in my notes for this episode, which we recorded twice. So I know I've asked it. I just don't know if it ever got published. So if I've already asked this question, sorry, I'm asking it again.
Right.
And our answers probably changed.
Probably.
Because I'm pretty sure they changed from the first time we recorded it to the second time we recorded it. What is one haunted location that you would like to investigate, but you know that you probably never will? So not something that's attainable.
You go first.
I would have to say you would think I rethought of this answer, but I didn't. I would say probably, I don't know, some castle over in Europe that I know I probably will never be able to afford a trip over there, let alone afford to be able to investigate a castle. Yeah, it would be so cool to investigate an
there's
old
so
haunted
many
castle.
There's so many over in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say Chernobyl.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. Too dangerous, but I would love to do it.
I would. That's a good one.
It sure is.
I wish I would have thought of it.
Not everybody can be as smart as me.
No, they can't. Okay, well, you ready to just dive right in?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Let's get it done.
I will say I'm glad we're recording this during the day because usually we record at night. And this is a freaky topic for me.
Does it freak you out?
It really does. I love it. But it's always been kind of scary for me. And then with recording it twice already and it not working, I don't know. I'm kind of terrified.
I was at the dentist and she asked me if not having this tooth was like affecting work. And I said, kind of, because I have a podcast and it's hard to talk. And she said, oh, what's your podcast about? And I said, it's about the paranormal. And she said, what's it called? So I told her and she was like, I have to tell you, a lot of times patients tell me they have a podcast and I ask them what their podcast is about to be polite. And then they tell me and I have to pretend like I'm interested. She said, but this sounds really cool. And I was like, thank you. But then she asked me, do you guys ever scare yourself in the episodes that you do? And
I was wondering where this story was going, if it was tying back into what I just said, but you got it there.
Yeah. And I said, not really. I said, we both have had paranormal experiences. I said I lived in a house for 15 years, a lot of paranormal activity. But it's interesting to find out that it does sometimes get to you.
It does. This topic, like I said, it definitely does. Generally late at night, like right before bed, is for whatever reason, this will pop into my head and I'll be like, fuck, now I'm thinking about it. And then I'll be scared.
Every time you think about it, I want you to think about, let's see, what is something funny you could think about instead of that? But you have to make the connection.
Yeah.
I want you to think about snotty, bratty kids falling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like kids that you're just like, where are your parents? Like, would you shut up and go away? I want you to think about them like, boom, face planting. And then you can just laugh.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that brings us to our topic introduction. Picture this. I'm going to scare everybody right now, just like I scare myself. It's late at night and you're home alone. Suddenly, you hear a knock at the door. You open it to find a child standing there, their skin unnaturally pale, and their eyes entirely black. They ask for help in a voice that seems to echo through the night. Fear grips you, an instinctive warning to stay away. This is the eerie reality for those who have claimed to encounter these mysterious figures. Today, we're diving into the eerie legend of black-eyed kids. Those unsettling figures with their unnaturally pale skin and completely black eyes have been reported in eerie encounters worldwide. So sit back, turn down the lights, and prepare yourself for a journey into one of the most haunting urban legends of our time.
I was thinking about this. I think that you see a lot, like in Japanese horror. When I think of a black-eyed kid with the pale face and the completely black eyes, I think of like Japanese horror movies, like horror films and stuff. Yeah. That makes it scarier for me.
Yeah, I agree. Japanese horror films definitely like to do stuff centered around kids.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Kids are scary.
Well, I've raised 5. You don't have to tell me.
I don't have any, and there's a good reason. Speaking of scary kids, that's what our facts are going to be about today, Kelly.
Awesome.
We are going to talk about some scary children. First, I'm going to give you some historical accounts of ghostly kids. So, various cultures around the world always have stories of ghostly encounters with children. One notable one is the ghost children of Puckley, England. Now, Puckley is a small village in Kent, England, and it is said to be the most haunted village in England. Among its many ghosts, there are several that involve spirits of children. One is the ghost of a mill boy. Now, this is near the site of the old windmill. The ghost of a young boy is said to be seen playing. The windmill was destroyed by fire, but the boy's spirit is believed to have remained there, eternally tied to the site of his demise. Another one is the St. Nicholas Churchyard, still in Puckley, where specific ghost children aren't necessarily named, but they are known for several different sightings of ghost children. And people have reported hearing voices and seeing apparitions of children playing and laughing.
There is nothing creepier than a laughing kid that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's not actually there.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
Then there is the crying boy paintings. Have you ever heard of these, Kelly?
I have the last 2 times we recorded this.
That's right. Good point.
Yeah.
No pretending here. Well, the crying boy paintings, I eventually want to do an entire episode of. I think I have it on my list.
Yeah.
Because they fascinate me. But basically, it is a series of artworks created by the Italian painter Giovanni Bragolin. And these paintings were produced in the 1950s, and they depict young children with tear-stricken faces. Now, the curse that surrounds these paintings says that in the 1980s, there were several house fires in the UK where these paintings were held, because there were several different versions of them, and basically anyone who had one had a house fire. But despite the fires, the paintings were often found unscathed. So the whole house could be burnt down, other damages, and the painting was just chilling. No damage.
That's really weird.
Yeah. So some people believe that the curse originated from the tragic lives of the children that are depicted in the paintings. So, interesting.
There's paintings there. I've seen some paintings like that. They're really creepy looking.
They are creepy. I don't know why anyone would buy one of those.
No.
But a lot of people would probably say our porcelain dolls are creepy and haunted, and I don't know why anyone would buy one of those.
But at least they're pretty.
Yeah. Some people just think all dolls are creepy. That used to be me.
You know, I can't stop thinking about Birdie from our Paranormal Postcard episode.
Yeah.
And her hellhound. I need more.
I know.
I know that I just need more stories. Speaking of buying creepy haunted things.
Yes.
I need more
know.
Birdie stories. I just
need
do.
more. I need more. Birdie, if you're listening, send us more. Now I'm going to get into some different psychological aspects around creepy children. Now, I know the answer to this question, Kelly, because we've recorded this episode twice already, but did you have an imaginary friend growing up?
I did.
Did you? I did not know that.
Do you remember her name?
No, I don't.
Genevieve.
Mm.
Genevieve?
I think when you said that the first time, I made the comment about how you were just manifesting a future best friend named Jen.
Named Jen, right. Genevieve was my imaginary friend, and she lived under the kitchen table.
Okay.
And I would sit under
It's
there.
an interesting place to live.
And I would talk to her all the time. And then whenever it was bath time, Genevieve would get in a bath with me. And then
Creepy.
I would be afraid when my mom would let the water out of the bathtub. I would scream because she was letting Genevieve down the drain and we had to save her.
Now, how much of this do you actually remember versus people just telling you?
I remember crying that Genevieve was going down the drain in the bathtub. And I have memories of sitting under the table and playing, but I don't specifically remember that I was playing with Genevieve. My mom filled that detail in.
So you don't have any necessarily any type of a memory of what she looked like to you?
If I think about it, she was about my age, same age as me, and she had dark hair.
Okay. They always have dark hair.
They do. I remember
Very rarely do you have a blonde ghost child. It doesn't happen very often.
Because I remember, because we would, take the bath together, and her hair would be wet, and it was, really dark.
So you actually remember seeing that?
I can't say that I remember seeing it because I was very young, but when I talk about Genevieve, that's the picture in my brain. So I don't know if that's something my brain has created around her or if it's actually what I was seeing or not.
Interesting.
I mean, I was young.
Yeah. I've always found imaginary friends fascinating because I feel like in most cases they're probably not imaginary.
Well, I mean, I lived in a crazy house with crazy parents, and I was an only child, so I needed a friend.
Yeah. Well, imaginary friends are a common part of childhood, Kelly, and they're typically seen as pretty normal and actually inspire creativity amongst children. But there are some instances where these imaginary friends kind of take on a more dark or eerie presence that can cause some parents some fear and concern. Some children have described their imaginary friends in very unsettling ways, attributing them to sinister behavior or appearances. These friends may have black eyes, demand secrecy, or suggest actions that might seem harmful or frightening. Did Genevieve ever ask you to do anything bad?
Not that I have any memory of or that my mother has ever told me.
Okay, that's good. Parents and caregivers have reported having some disturbing experiences, such as children claiming their imaginary friends asked them to do something dangerous, or describing their imaginary friend with uncanny detail, including historical facts or knowledge that they should not possess as a child.
That's interesting. One thing my mom always thought was really weird about my imaginary friend is where in the hell would I have heard the name Genevieve?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a name that we really heard all of the time. And she always thought that was pretty bizarre that that's the name. We didn't know any Genevieves. There weren't any in the neighborhood so.
Yeah, that is interesting. While most cases of imaginary friends are harmless, some psychologists believe that a dark imaginary friend might indicate underlying anxiety, trauma, or other psychological issues.
Well, I got all of those, but...
So I say I'm surprising Genevieve wasn't a little darker.
Yeah.
In some cases, these friends could be a child's way of coping with stress or expressing emotion that they can't otherwise articulate.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay. I'm going to start with giving you a little information of just some origins of the legend, some media influence, and, what exactly black-eyed kids are for those who don't know. Well, this spooky legend is said to have emerged in the 1980s, but it didn't gain widespread attention until 1996. So fairly new in all accounts of everything spooky.
Right.
And it started with a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel, who shared an unsettling experience involving an encounter with these mysterious kids. And we will get into it. Holy fuck.
Okay.
What was that?
My book.
Okay. That sounded a lot heavier than a book.
My notepad.
Okay.
My ghost box and my chapstick.
And where were they?
On the shelf behind my laptop.
And they just fell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to keep going.
Alrighty.
The urban legend of black-eyed kids saw a significant surge in popularity following the release of the horror film Black-Eyed Kids in 2012.
I still haven't watched it.
No, me neither. We can watch it when you come because I won't watch it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I won't watch it by myself.
I might sleep in your room that night.
That's fine. And they were also featured on an episode of MSN's Weekly Strange in 2013. These media appearances did play a key role in spreading and popularizing the urban legend and allowing it to kind of reach a bigger audience. Now, reports of black-eyed kids persist with numerous accounts describing these encounters. Generally, they appear to be in isolated locations, such as deserted roads, outside of your window, Oh, I'm so glad I live on the third floor.
Now, how creepy would it be if you saw a black-eyed kid outside of your third?
Do not put that in my brain, Kelly. God, I hate you. Fuck you.
That would make it worse.
I'm having fuck. God.
Just have more wine before you go to bed. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I need something. Well, thank you for putting that lovely image in my head, Kelly.
You're
Note
welcome.
to self, make sure my blinds are closed before I go to bed every night. Which they usually are, except when I have my window open.
Your noisy neighbors would scare them away anyway.
I hope so. But then they'd have to go up to the fourth floor.
Yeah. I mean, if they're on the third, why the hell couldn't they get to the fourth?
I guess. Oh, God. I can't stop. Now that you have that in my brain. Oh, okay.
I didn't think that you wouldn't already know that something supernatural isn't confined to the ground.
I didn't think about that. I was really excited that I lived on the third floor. You know, okay, I'm going to tell you that what really did me in, because they've always freaked me out, but I saw a video and I think Two Girls, One Ghost showed it. I think they were the one where I saw it, but I guess it was going around on Instagram or something, where supposedly one was caught on a security camera and it actually opened the front door and you could see something standing there. Now it was dark, but it was like childlike. So of course, because it didn't enter the house, which we'll find out more later, but they can't enter the house without being invited.
Right. So just don't invite it in.
Well, I know, but I still don't want it opening my front door and staring at me.
Just close the door. Just like kick it shut. And be like, fuck you, little kid.
Fuck you.
Think of those little kids at the pool that drive you nuts and their parents aren't watching them and be like, fuck you, kid.
Yeah.
And then just kick it.
Fuck you, kid.
Yeah.
Kick the door shut.
Sure.
Okay. Well, black-eyed kids, often referred to as B.E.K.s, are a paranormal entity that is reported to resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16. They are said to have an eerie presence with pale skin and eyes that are completely black. And according to numerous accounts, these beings are known to approach people with persistent requests for assistance, which obviously scares the fuck out of a lot of people.
Yeah.
It would scare me. It is scaring me. I'm telling you, if we get audio issues on this recording, I'm done.
It's the last time we'll ever talk about it.
Never again. I am going to delete my notes and we will never discuss it again. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the science behind the eyes being completely black. Now, when I say completely black, I am not just talking about the pupil or like where the color part of your eyes is being black. I am talking full supernatural demon from the TV show Supernatural, where the eyes are completely void of color, no white, nothing, just black.
Do you know they make like contacts that can make eyes look like that now?
Yes, I do, because you told me the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
So human eyes typically have a white sclera, which covers about 5/6 of the eye's surface. It's worth noting that black scleras are technically possible in humans, but they are incredibly rare. They are quite common in dogs, horses, lizards, and some various other animals. But reports of black-eyed children describe individuals with completely black eyes, devoid of any visible sclera, pupils, or iris, which is a phenomena that is quite unsettling due to its very unnatural appearance. Now, typically, witnesses describe similar experiences with black-eyed kids. They're often reported wearing some type of dark clothing or hoodies, and they ask for help, generally, to use a phone or to get a ride of some sort. They're usually asking for something from you. And witnesses always report feeling an overpowering fear and a compulsion to comply, which that's what scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I don't like the compulsion part.
They have this thing about them that makes you, if you don't think about it, I guess, comply. And I don't like that. I'm a people pleaser, Kelly. They would be able to manipulate me pretty easily.
I don't know. I think because you're aware of it.
I hope so.
I think a lot of these people have never even really heard of the Black-Eyed Kids before.
That's true.
So you're aware.
That's true.
You know their game. You know how they work. You've done all the research. That leaves you prepared. So you are in the position of power.
Thank you. That makes me feel better when I see
welcome.
one floating outside my window tonight. So the children's black eyes are usually the last thing that someone notices about them. So again, they're usually in some type of dark clothing, a lot of times darker hair. And when people notice them, they don't really notice the black eyes right away, which I find weird because I feel like I would notice them immediately.
Unless they're just looking down. But I will tell you, if there's any kids floating outside your window, just don't let them in by practice.
Oh, no. I mean, if they're floating outside my window.
Whether you can see their eyes right away or not. Yeah.
That's a big old fuck no. Yeah. I'm going to slam the window shut, close my blinds, and burn the entire apartment building to the ground.
Sure. I mean, as any reasonable person would.
Right. I mean, I don't even think the firefighters or police would charge me because I'd be like, there was a black-eyed kid floating outside my window. Right. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Totally understand. Yeah. You're free to go, Miss Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They know. They're like, okay, cool. So human eye color is determined by specific genes that regulate the amount of melanin pigment in the iris. And that's the colored part of the eye, for those who don't know. This pigment varies in amount, which makes us have different eye colors. So light blue, gray, hazel, dark brown, green. Now, natural black eyes are biologically impossible. But there are some conditions such as aniridia that can cause your irises to appear extremely dark. There are also contact lenses that have the ability to mimic completely black eyes, which can explain some sightings because, I mean, seems like a stupid prank personally, but I can see how someone might think this is funny.
Yeah. Especially a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I personally would punch them in their face so they would, then I'd go to jail for child abuse.
No, they'd be like, we saw the movie, Miss Cooper, you're free to go.
Yeah, you're free to go. The condition of aniridia leads to abnormally large pupils that displace the irises. So aniridia not only affects the appearance of the eye, but it also causes poor vision and significantly increases the likelihood of blindness. So I doubt that anybody who has aniridia is trying to prank people to be a black-eyed kid.
Right. Yeah.
Probably not. Now, aniridia does not impact the sclera, which is the white part of your eye. So again, aniridia is not going to really ever be confused for black-eyed kids because it's the entire eye. There are special lenses that do cover the entire visible portion of the eye and can change the eye color to jet black. So as you said, there are contact lenses that can do that. They shouldn't. They should discontinue those.
They should.
They should. Now, the existence of black-eyed children is subject to speculation. Of course it is, because it's paranormal. But despite the absence of concrete documentation, there are a lot of tales that continue to persist and keep this urban legend alive. Those who believe in their existence often recount chilling encounters, while skeptics highlight the lack of evidence and the story's tendency to be passed on as a friend of a friend. Now, whether these encounters are genuine or fabricated, the legend of black-eyed kids continues to strike fear in the hearts of me. And maybe others, but definitely me. So I'm going to go back to Brian Bethel, who is the first person that reported. What is that noise?
I don't know. I keep hearing. I have some wrapping paper behind me because I was wrapping Christmas presents today. And I was just looking over there. I don't know if you saw me looking when you were talking.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It sounds like it's coming from there.
Okay.
I thought maybe one of the rolls was like sliding down or something.
Maybe one of the things that fell off of your shelf, the ghost wants to wrap up and give it to you as a Christmas present.
My own stuff?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really have access to go to a store, Kelly. It's got to improvise here. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, I don't know. Back to Brian Bethel.
Brian Bethel. Now, in 1996, Brian Bethel, who was a Texas reporter, witnessed what would later become the first reported sighting of black-eyed kids. Now, as the story goes, Bethel was sitting in his car, and he was writing a check. So, again, back into the 90s, because who else writes a check nowadays? And he noticed that there were two children making their way towards his vehicle. The children were both boys, and he said that he thought they were between 9 and 12, and they were dressed in hoodies that partially concealed their face. Now, Bethel offered his assistance, to which the boys were... What was that?
My whole desk just moved.
Are you serious?
My whole desk just moved. So you're going to have to not do that, please. And thank you. We are recording. I don't... It just kind of... It felt like something knocked it.
It's trying to get back to those things that knocked down so it could wrap them up for you.
Oh, they're right there.
Okay. Well, anyway, Bethel offered his assistance to these boys, and they've responded by asking for a ride to their mother's house to fetch some money because they wanted to watch a movie at a nearby movie theater. They also made a point, and this is what I don't like, to reassure Bethel that they were only children and did not have a firearm.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
I'm out. I don't care. If some small child, black eyes or not, approaches my car and says, you give me a ride home? I am just a child and I do not have a gun. I'd be like, fuck you, roll up my window and speed off.
If I meet anybody anywhere and they're like, hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is George. I do not have a firearm on me. I'd be like, I'm getting the fuck away from you, George.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing I know. George has a fucking firearm on him.
Yeah. Probably. Though in the state of Florida, I can see people saying that.
I don't get it. But,
Yeah. Kelly, don't you know that a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun? Which is why all of the states that have open carry laws have statistically much higher rates of shooting. I mean, wait, that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't at all. No. No.
You would think if a good guy with a gun stopped. No, I'm not going to overthink it.
I just think that maybe Florida doesn't have a lot of good guys in it then.
I can tell you it definitely doesn't have a lot of good single ones because I'm scraping bottom of the barrel over here, Kelly.
We'll have to go through some dating apps when I'm there and we'll pick you out a couple guys.
God, I can only hope because they're few and far in between. I have started telling people when I'm dating that I have a podcast. Like I have it in my dating profile now. I had one guy the other day say, "Oh, I've reached above my social status." I'm like, "No, you haven't. We're not that popular."
We have like 10 listeners.
Yeah. Maybe 12.
And my co-host doesn't have a tooth. It's really not that big of a deal.
It's not. But they do ask like what the podcast is. And I tell them, I'm like, yeah, go listen. You'll learn real quick whether or not you want to try to date me or not.
That's the God's honest truth.
And hell, then I get some extra downloads for our numbers.
There you go.
It works out. I just got to start advertising on my dating profile. I'm like, you can go vet me because you're going to learn everything you need to know because I don't have a filter. Sorry, completely sidetracked here because ADHD does that. So I was talking to this one guy and we had plans to go out and Wednesday night last week. And I had a headache that day, so I canceled. And then he asked me, like, is there another day? And I was already kind of not sure about him because he's one of those people who was like, you'll start texting on the app and then you switch to phone and then you make plans to go out. And then he would text me like once a day. And I'm not for that. Like, if you're planning to go out with me, like, we need to continue this conversation if the date is 3 days in the future.
Yeah.
Right? That's just me. Like, I don't just make a plan with me and then don't text me until the day of. Not cool with that. So I was already kind of hesitant. And when I told him Wednesday night, I said, I'm not 100% sure. I have to wait to find out with my friend whether or not she's able to record tomorrow because, I knew you were dealing with everything with Boogie and whether or not you were going to be able to record. And I told him, I said, she unfortunately just had to put her dog down. So I'm kind of giving her some space and letting her figure out when she's available. And his response was, okay. Not, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear about that. And please tell your friend, like, I know he doesn't know me or you, but that's the nice thing to say.
Well, if you hear, if
like
somebody,
dogs.
If somebody has to put their good boy down, if you say, I'm so sorry to hear that, period.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Anything.
Yeah.
Not just, okay.
Okay.
Or even that sucks, like something to indicate that you read that and you understand that my friend is going through something. So I haven't texted him back since because fuck that. You either don't have a heart or you don't like dogs or something.
It doesn't seem he's interested in any kind of like human connection, like actual, like, hey, let's have a conversation. He probably just wants to like, let's go out for drinks and then maybe I can get in your pants.
Yeah.
And look, there's nothing wrong with dates that are let's go out for drinks and maybe I can get in your pants. They certainly have their time and place. However, that's not what everybody is
just be upfront about them.
Right.
Right. And I've swiped on some profiles before that'll say, hey, I'm not interested in anything long term. I'm DTF.
Yeah. Good. So am I. Boom.
Do you know what?
Yes, I do know what it means. I may be a dinosaur, but yes, I know what it means.
Okay, I'm just making sure. And for me, I swipe left on those profiles because I am DTF, but that's not the only thing I want. I also catch feelings really fast, so I can't just have like a casual fling. It's not me. Okay, back on topic. Sorry for that.
We get very ADHD sidetracked here.
Yeah, it's cool. You're just learning more about my life.
Yeah.
Fortunately, this probably won't be the first episode that someone listens to when I tell them to go listen to my podcast on a dating app. Because we're way in, so it's good. By the time they've hit this episode, they're like, oh, okay, I already like her.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And why wouldn't they?
Exactly. Okay.
I do hope that guy that didn't say I'm sorry about the good boy, I hope he listens to it and finds out that we think he sucks.
He was listening. I don't know if he's still listening, that I haven't talked to him since Wednesday, but he did listen to a couple episodes.
Wow.
So
you suck.
If you are listening, now you'll know why I ghosted you. Have some sympathetic response next time.
Yeah.
My advice to you.
Be a human.
Yeah. So at this point, Bethel grew very uneasy. Hard transition. Because, again, what child says, I'm just a child and I don't have a firearm? That's weird. So he said something was off. Something was just gnawing at him. He said that the children's voices had an eerie quality to them, but he couldn't really explain it. But he just couldn't shake the sense that he wasn't supposed to engage with them any further. Then he looked at their eyes. And this only deepened that fear, because peering out from beneath their hoods, the boys' eyes were completely devoid of any color. Bethel swiftly informed them that they had missed the start of the movie, but they persisted, pleading for a ride. Refusing their request only seemed to escalate the situation, and the children began to pound on the doors of his vehicle.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
And Bethel, a very smart man, drove away. And then he wrote about it in his paper because...
Why wouldn't you
write about that?
Right.
Now, there's another story, and this one I think personally is the most terrifying for me. Vermont has been a hotspot for these reported encounters. Apparently several different encounters have come from Vermont. Yeah, it is interesting. But perhaps one of the most notable is the story I'm about to tell you that took place in 2016. Now, there was a couple that lived in rural Vermont, which I still hate that word, rural.
Rural. It's hard to say.
Rural. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Totally not really connected to anything. The name Aurora is hard for me, too.
Oh, okay.
I want to say Aurora.
No, I don't mind that one. Aurora.
Aurora.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just difficult. It gets all stuck in my mouth.
Yeah, that's how I feel rural. Whenever I have to say it, I just say it really fast in a sentence and hope that no one realizes that I'm pronouncing it really weird. So in rural Vermont, one winter night, there was a couple that was asleep and they were awoken by a persistent knocking on their front door. Now, initially, they kind of just assumed because it was this.
Is there a fucking mouse in here or some shit? Because I'm going to freak out if a little rodent, like
usually we hear one noise and then we don't hear anything for a while, but that's persistent. Look out your window, Kelly. Is there a black-eyed kid floating at your bedroom window?
No, just the sunset.
Okay.
Kind of pretty.
Okay. Damn it. I was trying to scare you just as much as you scared me.
No, I don't need like stories of black-eyed kids. I have to sleep in a bedroom where my something knocks into my desk and I see shadow things and hear little kids laughing and
that's fair.
Stuff like that. Bathroom door just opened.
Did it?
Yeah. No, thank you. We're going to keep that closed because it's echoey in there.
Oh. What did we say the name was? What did we decide on our Discord?
Ellen.
Ellen. Maybe we need to start calling her by her name.
Ellen, could you please stop making noise? We're trying to finish this episode for the third time.
Third time. Now, thank you to Katrona who gave us that name.
Yes.
She said that's what she was feeling. And she was the only one out of our 3 patrons that put in a response for that one. So she got
she said that she got the names Ellen, Eileen, and Ellie. Well, we can't do Ellie because that is Jen's dog.
Yes.
And I have an Aunt Eileen, so I didn't want to use that name. So Ellen it is.
Ellen.
Yeah. It's a nice name.
Maybe we just have to start. It is a pretty name. Okay, Ellen, let us finish recording.
Please.
Because this is our 3rd time recording this episode. And I know you weren't responsible for the first 2 issues. At least I don't think you were. Maybe she was.
Maybe. I don't think so, because nothing was going on then.
No. That's true. Okay, so older couple in rural Vermont, and it was a winter night. They were woken up by persistent knocking on their door. Now, they were in the middle of a pretty severe snowstorm. So being that they were one of the only houses for a while, they just assumed at that point someone had broken down and they were coming to knock on their door to ask for help. So they got up and they opened the door and they saw 2 children who were not dressed for a severe snowstorm in rural Vermont. They just were normal clothes and they weren't shivering. They didn't appear to be cold, despite not having proper clothing on. I want to make sure that that's not confusing. They did have clothes on. They weren't naked. Yeah. they just did not have winter.
Ellen, we talked about this. We're going to leave the door closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay, so they opened the door. The kids didn't seem to be shivering, and their gaze was kind of fixed on the ground. So as you said earlier, why you might not see their black eyes right away. And the couple invited them in because, Ellen,
sweetie, I promise I'll give you some attention after we're done recording, okay?
Thank you. But they invited them in because an elderly couple sees 2 kids not shivering, but dressed inadequately on their doorstep in the middle of a snowstorm. They would invite them in. I'd hate to say it, but I probably would too if I didn't notice the black eyes.
Yeah.
Which is why I guess before you, note to everyone listening, before you invite children into your home, ask to look at their eyes.
Any kids.
So if they're like looking down or have a hood, be like, I need to clearly see your eyeballs before I invite you in. Now, they invited them in. And at this point, some weird things kind of started happening, right? There was an inexplicable aura that just seemed to kind of engulf the entire household, right? Couple had a couple cats that were usually very calm and composed. And they immediately started to react with hissing at the children. Which, fuck that, because your pets are always right. Like, make sure that if your pets are hissing at some weird children you just invited in off the street, there's probably something wrong. So the woman went into the kitchen to prepare some hot chocolate, thinking they're kids, they need to be warmed up. We give them some hot chocolate. And the husband engaged the children in conversation, hoping to figure out more of why they were standing on their door in the middle of a snowstorm in inadequate clothing. The children responded in an unsettling unison, which, no, like, fuck that. And they insisted that their parents would be there to pick them up soon. Then the children finally lifted their eyes to turn to the woman that was coming back from the kitchen, and she caught the glimpse of their unsettling black eyes.
Nope.
And at this point, a sense of fear began to creep over her. And at the same time, her husband suddenly started to not feel well. So at this point, they were both kind of sensing the urgency. And the kids asked if they could use the bathroom. And as soon as the bathroom door closed, the power in the house went out. And the man's nose started to bleed.
That's a lot happening at the same time.
I don't like any of this.
No.
Well, the children returned from the
out,
bathroom.
But it would be like my house, so.
It is your house. How do you leave your house? The children returned from the bathroom and they calmly announced that their parents had arrived. Despite the fact that there was not a phone in the bathroom. I don't think generally people keep a house phone in the bathroom.
My grandparents always had a phone in their bathroom. And Nick's parents used to have a phone in their bathroom.
Okay, well, I guess I'm an idiot. Apparently that is a thing. Anyway, the parents had arrived, however quickly. That's pretty astonishing in itself that they didn't even know where they were, but now they're suddenly here.
Well, this was 2016, right?
It was, yeah.
So the kids could have had a cell phone.
They could have. But the amount of time that they were in the house, the people did not see them use a phone. So from the time they entered the bathroom to the time that the car was spotted outside to pick them up was not that long of a time. So the door of the car was ajar and the children left the house and joined the parents in the waiting car, which then drove off. And it didn't really say anything if the couple could see the parents in the car or anything like that. I don't know how bad the snowstorm, I don't know how bad visibility was, but nothing I could find on that. Now, after they left, about a half hour later, the electricity did return to their house. And later, like the next couple of days, the man was plagued by a persistent illness and unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer and passed away shortly after.
That's terrible.
In addition to that, the couple's cats suffered some misfortune as well. 3 of them went missing, and 1 of them passed away at home.
Not the kitty.
The woman also experienced frequent nosebleeds following this mysterious visit, leading her to believe that she had fallen victim to the curse unleashed by the black-eyed kids.
Fuck these kids, man.
I know. Killing cats and old husbands, like, fuck you. Making nosebleeds. Now, I have one more story, and this was in Staffordshire, UK, in the area of Connaught Chase. And this is another hotspot for black-eyed kids. There have been a lot of different stories that have been reported from this area.
It's so funny that they're so, like, random locations, like Vermont.
Yeah,
and
I know.
The UK and, yeah.
Yeah. There was a paranormal investigator, Lee Brickley, and they have conducted extensive research documenting the cases that link black-eyed kids to Connaught Chase. And there's 2 disturbing examples of what goes on at night and during the day, which are both just terrifying. They could come out at any point in time. One incident, there was a woman with her daughter, and they were taking a leisurely walk, and they suddenly heard the distressing screams of a young girl. They were alarmed, of course, because who wouldn't be? And they began to try to search for the source of the cries. Their hearts raced as they searched through the dimly lit surroundings. Suddenly, without warning, the young girl appeared behind them. She stood there, her small frame trembling, and her hands covering her face. The mother, overcome with concern, gently asked the girl if she was all right. Upon removing her hands from her face, the girl revealed a startling pair of black eyes. The mother and daughter were terrified, but before they could react, the girl astonishingly vanished into thin air, leaving them pretty shaken.
Yeah,
Now this I don't get, because they didn't, the black-eyed kid didn't really ask for anything.
No, but the way she was asking was that she needed help. Like her actions
right, but
were
she
like,
didn't,
something's wrong.
right, but generally, and again, it could be different in the UK because we know how paranormal things can vary from culture to culture. But generally in the US, when things are reported, it's them trying to enter your car or your house or something. And once they enter, then bad shit happens. But in this instance, they were outside and she didn't like really ask them for help in any way. She just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But still terrifying. And then there's another case in the same area where a young couple was camping and they were broken up by a giggling girl. Again, laughing kids. Fuck that. And it sounded like the laughing was circling their tent.
No.
When they looked outside, they were met with a girl with deep black eyes. After a brief stare, she swiftly darted into the woods in a manner that would defy normal human movement. Of course, leaving the couple terrified with fear. Now, with both of these encounters, I could not find anything that said there was any type of sickness or illness or anything that happened to these
that's what I was
people
just going to ask. Like, they seemed like they were just shaken, but they were okay. Yeah.
But I don't know. Both terrifying experiences.
Yeah.
But I definitely think the one where the older couple let them in.
I'm surprised that last couple didn't like cut themselves out of their tent and were found like 4 miles away, missing their eyes and their tongue.
Maybe we just solved Datlov's Pass.
I think we did.
It was fucking black-eyed kids.
I think we did.
Because, you know, if I opened my tent door, even in the middle of the snowy mountains, and I saw black-eyed kids standing at my tent, I would fucking cut myself from the inside.
Out the other side.
To escape.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the other ones were missing their eyes. Maybe black-eyed kids need to take eyes from people. They need to like replenish their eyes.
You know, I think we just created a new theory. Out of all the research I did on Datlov's Pass, I did not see anybody say that it was black-eyed kids.
Yeah.
At the older couple's house, they were standing out in the cold and didn't appear to be shivering.
That's right.
So we know that they can handle extreme temperatures.
Write this shit down.
Write it down. We have a new theory for you all. You heard it here first. And we didn't think about this the first 2 times we recorded.
No.
Because we didn't do Datlov's Pass.
I knew nothing about it at the time, but.
Yeah. This is all new.
Yeah. Maybe only reason
maybe that's why
that last couple is alive is because they didn't leave that tent.
Yes. And maybe the reason why our first 2 episodes got all fucked up with audio was because we had to record it this time after Datlov's Pass so we could make the connection.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think it does too.
We're working on 2 theories today. Did we just solve Datlov's Pass? 2 theories today. One, we have figured out Chupacabra.
Oh, right? We did. We figured that one out earlier.
Right. We figured that one out. And now we have solved this one. So we are on fire.
We are on fire. So we'll enlighten you all what we're talking about with Chupacabra. Last night I was watching The Osbournes Want to Believe because Kelly has turned me on to Jack Osbourne as a paranormal investigator. And I'm consuming everything I possibly can that he's involved in.
He's so cute.
And The Osbournes Want to Believe is hilarious for anyone who hasn't watched it. It is basically Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne and Jack Osbourne. And Jack is showing them paranormal clips and they are talking about them. And he is trying to convince his parents that the paranormal is real.
Ozzy Osbourne is a gift to this world. From his musical days to now in his older age. He is a gift.
Yes. And I just love it because it is this like unfiltered older couple and they just say whatever the fuck comes to their mind.
Right.
And I just love it. And it's real. At least I hope it's real. I hope it's not all like staged. It seems real. I just love it. But anyway, what got me last night, I saw a video of this weird looking dog thing that walked across the driveway. It was caught on the security camera and then just disappeared into thin air. And I saw it and immediately they're all looking like, oh, it's this, it's that, it's a wolf, it's that. I'm like, it's a chupacabra. So I immediately snap Kelly and show her the video. And I'm like, it's a fucking chupacabra, Kelly. It's a chupacabra. Kelly, of this course, is already asleep because she's an old lady. And
That's right.
This was like 11:30. So
Way
she
past
responds
bedtime.
today. Yeah. And says, I didn't remember from your episode that the chupacabras could just vanish into thin air like it did in this video. So then I snapped her back and I said, Kelly, a chupacabra can do whatever the fuck it wants to do because it's a chupacabra. And then I joked, don't hold it down, or don't hold the chupacabra down, Kelly. Empowered women empower chupacabras. And that was my snap. And then Kelly responded saying that maybe the chupacabra was a creature that was all female and they figured out how to breed without men. So then we went down this whole thing of why we think that's true and how they've evolved from reptilian to more dog-like, and why they're never really caught and there's not a ton of evidence for them is because they're all women and they're just smarter. So they can figure out how
to... If you know any women, or if you are a woman, we are many things to other people. Sometimes we need to be a reptile and sometimes we need to be a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can be what they want. It's an evolved species.
Depends on who they're dealing with.
Yeah. So
it's
there we go. We solved two mysteries today.
Supernatural evolution. Completely different than scientific evolution, obviously, but
exactly.
we just invented it and it makes sense. So
it does make sense. Well, Kelly, after all of the random nonsense we just spewed, this brings us to the end of our episode, hopefully for the last time, of the eerie legend of black-eyed kids. Whether you believe these unsettling tales or think they're merely a product of our collective imagination, there is no denying the chill that they'll send down your spine.
If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. Your support helps us reach more listeners and share even more spooky stories.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at notmyghostpodcast and on Facebook at notmyghostnotmyproblem. We post a ton of stuff, updates, pictures, and yeah, lots of other fun stuff.
If you want even more ghostly content, consider joining our Patreon. We have some fantastic exclusive perks for our supporters. And if you have ever had a spine-tingling paranormal encounter of your own, please share your story with us at notmyghostpodcast@gmail.com, and you just might hear it featured on a future episode.
Thank you for joining us during this intriguing journey into the mysterious phenomena of black-eyed kids. As you dive into the shadows of your own thoughts, always remember that if you encounter a sudden knock at your door during the late hours and are confronted with the unsettling sight of pale children with black eyes, it is essential to trust your instincts and refrain from allowing them entry. And keep this in mind.
If it's not your kid,
it's not your problem.
Until next time, stay spooky.
And stay skeptical.